Welcome to Journey to Joy Live, a podcast to promote wellness, resilience, and inspire joy. Be empowered to balance your mental, physical, financial, aspirational, and social health while providing mental health awareness and breaking down the stigma of mental illness in the Black community. I'm your host, Dr. If Joy, and I'm here to help you transform life's challenges into opportunities for joy. Let's begin the journey together. Hello. Happy New Year still to everyone. We are in episode 132, The Career Reset, Realigning Your Work with Your Joy. And I have special guest Laura Knights. She is the CEO of Knights Consulting and founder of Black Woman Leading. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you. So, how did you get into career resetting? And tell us, well, actually, before you jump into that, tell us more about who you are.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, I have a leadership and team development company. We get to, on one side of the house, work inside of organizations to help them develop leaders in their organization, employees. And on the other side of the house is our Black Woman Leading Initiative, in which we support Black women in their career and kind of overall personal development as they kind of grow in their career, and have been doing this work in different iterations for quite a while now.
That's awesome. How did you get into it?
Yeah. So before becoming an entrepreneur and running my own firm, well before that, I was a social worker and worked as a licensed clinical social worker, doing a lot of family therapy work and clinical work. You know about that, but had a lot of professional women that I service as their therapist. But my background is actually in organizational development and HR. And so a lot of the programs I do now in my company, where I'm helping to develop leaders, are things I did as an employee inside of organizations. So the work I do now is like the perfect mix of all of the different career paths I have, with helping people with their overall wellness, their professional development as well. So it's been an interesting journey.
That sounds so good. And it sounds like it's so rewarding. And you definitely have the receipts and you know what you're doing. If anybody wanted a career reset, it sounds like coming to you what really makes sense. And last week, I was talking about the joy reset. And so I was getting into our 5 crucial health areas. We have to reset our mind, reset our vision, reset our relationships, our finances, as well as our physical, our body, right? So all these things. And so when it comes to resetting our vision, that's where the spinoff to today's episode comes in, that because when our values, our life's mission, and of course our career, we talk about having a job, but when it comes to having a job, it's like you're just trying to get paid and get the bills done. But a career is something fulfilling and something that you will do no matter what, and hopefully have fun. So when it comes to a career reset, how does one know that it's time for a career reset?
Yeah, well, first I'll just say what it is. So when I say a career reset, it is really like just this strategic pause that you take to really assess if the path that you're on right now is aligned with, as you said, your values, your energy, your goals, how you want to be experiencing your life. And so often, especially in doing this work as an executive coach and working with a lot of people, particularly that are in that mid and senior, kind of been working for 12, 15, 20 years, a lot of people have just been advancing without really intentional moment of, is this what I want to be doing? Is they just kind of be auto moving on or moving up, and they haven't really had that moment to really pause and say, for who I am right now and this season of my life, is what I'm doing aligned with the experience that I'm having? So it's that moment where you pause and really do a reflection exercise to say, is this the experience I want to be having? If so, yes, how can I optimize that and move it forward? If not, how do I pivot if that's what I need to do?
Exactly. So have you had that for yourself? I mean, it sounds like kind of you were doing social work, clinical work.
I have had several career resets over my life. I mean, I talked about earlier on starting really in HR, organizational development, and I was working inside of organizations and not having the best time, to be quite honest. And one of my mentors at that time reached out to me because she was my mentor. So I was griping and complaining to her, and this doesn't align.
Yeah.
And she asked me to come work with her. She was an executive at a nonprofit. So I pivoted and went into the nonprofit sector and did that for a while.
Oh.
Went back to graduate school, became a social worker and a therapist. And I was a trauma therapist at the time, and it was very heavy
Mm.
work. And
Mhm.
I
For
just
sure.
saw, okay, this as my only thing I'm doing is not probably the best for me.
Correct.
And then I pivoted at that time. I was an employee at a university for 10 years, building the programs that I get to do
Mm.
now as an entrepreneur. And when I saw my ceiling there had been hit, then I said, oh, I want to do this on my own. And I pivoted into entrepreneurship. So I have had several career resets, but they all started with that moment of really pausing and saying, Lord,
Yeah.
where are you right now?
Mhm.
What are your priority values and experiences, priorities now? And
Okay.
align what we're doing professionally to work for you in that way.
Yeah, so it sounds like you assess or reassess what your values are and whether or not you were in alignment with that. Was there any burnout at all preceding any of these resets?
Lots of burnout, and that's usually one of the signs that you're overdue for a career reset. Like, when I think one of the biggest
Mm.
signs from my work of working with leaders over the last 20 years is kind of this chronic exhaustion around the work
Mhm.
and a general, like, just kinda demotivation or lack of energy, lack
Yeah.
of zeal that you once had for the work because it doesn't really
Mhm.
fit you. And it may not be the core work, it might be the environment that you're doing the work in that
Yeah.
might be what the reset needs to be as well.
Mhm. And
Yeah,
that reminds me of me. I feel like I've had 2 major career resets, and it's not like a change in career. Like, I was always a
exactly.
doctor, I was always a psychiatrist, but the first step was when I started my residency training. I got into a residency training where I would become an adult psychiatrist, a child psychiatrist, and a pediatrician. And most people know that a pediatrician deals with the body and the psychiatrist
Yes.
obviously deals with the mind, but I really wanted it. And I worked really hard to get in there and I got my top choice and it was amazing. And it was like one of 19 spots in the nation. So I'm like, oh
Wow.
yeah. But of course I got burnt out. That's a lot. And I fell out of love with the pediatric side of things. I'm like, I don't want to deal with the ICU and the NICU and all that. I just want to go talk to this patient over here about their mental health. But still with children, right? I still wanted it, but I didn't want to talk about the body and stuff. So it felt I felt guilty, right? Because I did all that work and I took someone else's spot who could have taken a spot. So then I all those things I had to think about before deciding to switch out of that training. But at the end of the day, it was like the best decision for me because for one, I was burnt out. I probably would never gone past that
Wow.
pediatric boards in the first place. And oh, it was just such a relief deciding to leave that program and of course still go down the track of psychiatry, but just not both psychiatry and
That's a
pediatrics.
lot. That's a lot. But I love that you said, right, that because sometimes people, especially people who have years of experience or have really invested in their education, like you might hear, like, reset. I don't have time for that in this season in my life. It's
Correct.
not necessarily starting over, as you
Yeah.
highlighted. You were a doctor, you were
Mhm,
an expert in this field, but it's
mhm.
really about getting back into alignment with where you are now and where you want to go
Yeah.
next and making sure the path is pointed in that direction.
And honestly, and I'll say this out loud for whoever's listening, I think it had to do with the stigma behind psychiatry,
Mm,
where I felt like, well, I really want to be a psychiatrist, but I also have to be a pediatrician because a psychiatrist isn't a real doctor. Like, that's a
see.
thing.
I
That's a
see.
thing. And so I thought about that later. I was like, I think I really felt that way. So
Wow.
I had to break down that stigma about my own career in
Yeah.
order to be able to move forward because that would have created so much more burnout to keep being in pediatrics when I really didn't want it.
Yeah, and the lesson that I'm pulling from what you're saying is that so many people have whatever their stigma is, right? Yours was
Yeah.
connected to your career. It could be other things. And it's a default thing that they're acting on, but they haven't had the moment like you had to really think about it or to say, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
why am I feeling this way about
Mm-hmm.
this?" They're just operating in the stigma, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
unconsciously, or sabotaging themselves around some of that stuff too.
Yeah, and that goes along with imposter syndrome too, where we sabotage ourselves because we feel like we don't belong. And it's a lot of things to think about when it comes to our career and values for
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
Yeah. And my second career reset would be sort of recently in 2023. Again, I still a doctor, but I was working in academics, and I literally thought it was my dream job. I remember telling me, oh, it's my dream job. I'm helping people, trainees, training up new doctors and everything. And another opportunity presented to me, community mental health. So I took that and left academics, and I just felt free because academics is so kind
Mhm.
of like, you got to do this, you got to publish this, you got to
Yeah.
publish. And that's when the podcast started, because like I didn't feel free enough to start my own podcast and do what I do on social media. So that was like a different direction. So
Yeah.
like for those people out here, it sounds like a reset isn't necessarily like I'm going to leave
Mm-mm.
being a doctor and become a photographer, which I use that example because I do know someone who did that, which
Yeah.
is okay.
Which is okay too, right? That's okay too, right?
But maybe it is a pivot.
Yeah. I think the most important thing is giving yourself the moment to really pause and say, okay, I've been
Mhm.
going, I've been doing this. But if I really tell the truth, like you did about the pediatrician,
Tell the
is this
truth.
what I want to do? Is what I'm supposed to be doing? Has it been
Mhm.
a survival kind of thing? But maybe I'm
Mhm.
not in survival anymore. So I can
Mhm.
choose. I see that a lot with our Black woman leading community. People who, maybe earlier on they had to do this because they needed to take care of their kids. They needed to, but now they're at a different season of life and they not struggling like that. And so even though
Yes.
their mindset is about, I have to do this, they really don't have to do it. They could do some other things because they've created more space and opportunity for themselves.
Exactly. A lot of women, they may start out with kids in their
Yeah,
20s, and like you said, they choose a certain career, and then now the kid's a little older and they really can have that reset, go back
yep,
to school and everything.
yep,
Right. Yeah. Or it's the other way around. Maybe you focused on your career in your 20s, and then now the kids come in your 30s or 40s, and maybe your career changes because of that.
yep.
Yeah. So is there a difference, or should be a difference? And how do we know the difference between being challenged and being drained? Because we want to be challenged in our careers. That's how a career is fulfilling. But being drained is leads to burnout.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of people are in high functioning burnout, so they're still
Mm.
producing quite a bit. But I think some of the key indicators that I've experienced in my own experience and
Yeah.
also with working with lots of people is this really starting to diminish the value that you're
Hmm.
bringing. So it's like your even ability to acknowledge your own contribution is diminished because you don't see that. I think we
Yeah.
see the actual exhaustion. So feeling
Hmm.
de-energized or demotivated by the work. A
Hmm.
big one that I see, especially for people who've been working for some time, is feeling underutilized. So you
Mm.
are like, you have all this expertise, but you feel like the spaces that you're in,
Hmm.
you're not able to contribute at your full capacity. You desire to do that.
Yeah.
It's really discouraging that you can't do that.
Correct.
And so you are disappointed a lot. Your
Yeah.
motivation is off, and so I think to answer your question, the piece is the persistence of it,
Hmm.
right? We all
Hmm.
have moments where maybe this was a season I had to go hard and I'm a little
Yeah.
tired. But if the season has been 2 years now, one
Yeah.
year now, we got to start saying, is this a season or is this time to reconsider what's really happening?
Yes, exactly. So, what would it look like to outgrow a career without feeling like you're failing? Would you make that trajectory or that change?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it goes back to like the example you were given. So
Yeah.
first, it doesn't have to be a complete start over because
Mhm.
there's no everything matters, right? Everything is
Mhm.
for such a time as this, even if you decide to do something differently, right?
Mhm.
But I think part of it, one is just really being honest with yourself, looking at the values, looking at your vision.
Mhm.
What do you want your life to look like? And it
Yeah.
may be about unlearning some rules, right? Some of the things we're holding ourselves
Mm.
to is what people say we should do, or
Yes.
I think about when I was going to be an entrepreneur full time and I was a senior leader at a university. I made really good
Mhm.
money. My
Mhm.
kids could have went to school for free if I stayed there. My kids were really young at the time though.
Huh.
And I had people that were like, "You gonna leave that?" I was a state school. You gonna leave that good government job? It was
Yeah, yeah.
all of this kind of stuff. And if you let the voices of other people be louder,
Mhm.
that's where a lot of the disappointment can come too. And thinking about what is the vision that you want to live your life in, and is the
Exactly.
current path converging to that vision or not? So we have to really be honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
Um,
And it means you have to
First,
take the
yeah,
time to do that, the
you got to take the time to
self-reflection.
do
All
it.
this hustle and bustle and
Yep,
on autopilot. We got to stop and sit still with ourselves, write things down.
yep,
I like what you said. So, like, really think about the end game and where do you really want to see yourself? Whether
yep,
you're 30, think about where you want to see yourself at 40 or 50, whatever. Or maybe you're still 20
yep,
and go backwards
yep.
because how are you going to get there? So,
Yep,
yeah, that's very
and those
important.
reflections could be, because vision for some people sounds really big, like, "How do I even do
Yeah.
that?"
Yeah.
You can start to think about, like, what actually matters to me right now? How would I like to be spending my time?
Hmm.
How would I like all of the skills and expertise and education that I have accumulated, how would I like to be using that in the world right now, right? What
Mm.
type of people would I like to be working with? What kind of
Mhm.
spaces would I like to be working in? What kind of projects would I like to be working on?
Mhm.
Like, you can start with more tactical questions like that to
Mhm.
help you build out a vision if visioning sounds kind of overwhelming to you.
Yeah, that's really good, and knowing what you want and knowing your value helps you choose which job to get
Yep.
because maybe you have a lot of choices, maybe you don't, but if you know what your values are and what you really want and how you wanna see your lifestyle, then that tells you whether you should take
Yeah.
it or not. Because some people are taking jobs they don't even really want, but it's because of the pay, and it looks good on paper.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's all right for a time if the priority right now is about I need to get my money up because I need to pay off debt or I need to send my kid to school or whatever it is. But I think you need look, as someone who's about to have a senior in high school, right?
Oh, ho,
Um,
ho.
but I think you also have to assess like the sustainability of it. So I think it's reasonable to
Yeah.
say, for this next
Mhm.
role for the next 2 to 3 years, this is not what I want to do forever, but I'm gonna do this because I have an end game to it. That's still strategic and part of the vision. It's not I'm just doing this and not thinking about how this is aligning with the vision that I have for my life.
Yeah, and we can talk about that job that you have to take because that's the frame of life that you're in right
Yeah.
now. I mean, sometimes we got to change our mind or reframe our mind about how we perceive that job. And I'm thinking about because I was telling you before we went live, I have three part-time jobs.
Okay.
My private practice, I work for Chris 180 Community Mental Health Center, and the third one I don't talk about too much, but it's an on-call job where I
Mhm.
literally take call, and it's at home. It's telehealth. I might get it used to be where I might get 0 consults. It used to be like 0 to 4, but something done happened. They done added like 4 extra hospital
You
systems.
like, wait a minute
I
now.
can get between 6 to 12 consults a day,
Wow.
and I had to reframe my mind about that because 'cause I'm just like, "Well, that means more money." So that's a good thing, and, still flexible. I can see the patient whenever I wanna see as long
Yeah.
as it's not too urgent, and it works. It works for the family, and I just had to tell myself, "Why are you complaining? Don't get upset when you see another text, another consult come through. This is helping your
It's a
family."
dollar sign, right? It's a dollar sign.
Exactly. So sometimes you gotta tell yourself, remind yourself, like, "Whoa, gratitude."
Yeah. Yeah, but what I'm hearing still too is the connection to the values. Because what I'm hearing for you,
Exactly.
flexibility,
Mhm.
being available for your family.
Yep.
Earlier you talked about freedom and being able to do your podcast and move around. So although you might be like, dang, that's 10 calls that came through today. Is it fitting the values that you need to be
Heck
living in
yeah.
your life right now? Yes, it is. It's
'Cause
aligned,
yeah.
right?
Because
It's
guess
aligned.
what I'm not doing? I'm not working a 5-day-a-week full-time
Okay.
job.
Exactly, like, that's not my ministry anymore, right?
Anymore.
Yeah, I get it. I
Exactly.
get it.
So, know what you want, you'll find it when you see it, just like
Yes,
dating, hopefully.
yes.
That's a whole nother thing. So, earlier you were talking about being in the survival mode. So many of us have mastered that. Just surviving at work, autopilot, and you mentioned unlearning certain rules and things like that. So, how do we relearn how we can thrive?
Yeah. I think it's, for example, I was having a reflection today, and I'll use myself for an example.
Nice.
So I usually take some time off at the end of December to kind of rest and recuperate, spend time with family, and ease into the new year.
Mhm.
Where a couple of years ago, and I'm a recovering workaholic and a recovering super overachiever and all that kind of stuff, right? And so
Whew.
it used to be by January 1, I need to have all of the goals, the strategic plan for the year, and blah, 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 blah. But what used to be happening is the time I'm supposed to be resting in December, my mind
Mm.
would be cycling on, okay,
Mm.
January 1st is coming. What's the goals? Whatever the thing. And
Oh,
then I would
man.
enter the year flustered, still tired
Mhm.
because I didn't rest. My mind was cycling during the rest period and
Yep.
all of this. So I began to set a new rule for myself. So my new
Mhm.
rule is that my kind of go time year
Yeah.
doesn't start to February 1st for me.
Oh,
It doesn't start. My
I like
goals, working on
it.
my goals don't start to February 1st so that I can ease into January, have a moment to get myself together after having some time off, and really move into that. But it took some time to get there. And so I think part of it is realizing we can change our minds. Like you said,
Mhm.
you thought the academia was your dream job and then you got in there and it was not. So instead of being like, nope, I said I'm gonna do this, I gotta stay, we have to start to be okay with being like, I thought this is what I wanted. I got into it and I see it's not aligned. Because that means quitting for a lot of us overachievers
Yeah.
versus realigning what's important. So some of it is mindset work around,
Mhm. Mhm.
reframing what the experience is. And then some of it is really tactical work too, like planning, setting a goal, reaching out for help with like a
Yep.
coach or somebody or a therapist if it's some mental
Yeah.
health work, right?
Yep. Coach.
So I think it's some hard work we have to do.
Mhm.
And then a lot of times we have narratives that we made up. I
Yeah.
mean, just asking ourselves, is this really the truth? Because if I think
Mhm.
back to that, one of my narratives was like, it was January 1st, don't come, and I don't have the complete
Yeah.
plan with all the deadlines, then I'm a failure. I mean, I never said that, but that's how I was acting. And is that
Mhm.
really the case? No, it's not.
Yeah.
So it's really interrogating the thoughts that we're leading with that we are acting as truth when it's really something we made up half the
It
time.
really is. Like, we treat 11:59 PM December 31st and 12 AM January
Yeah,
1st like it's just this huge leap when only we deal with that every day change,
we
day-to-day
made that
change.
up.
We
Yeah,
make it up. And
we
yes, it's
making it up.
great. Happy New Year, all the things. But I love it. February 1st is
Yeah,
your reset
my new
day.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody are getting sick of the word resolution and things like that. I started to jump on that, but really a resolution is just like a set decision, just committing.
Yep.
So why not commit to something? That's a good thing.
But what we see when we look at like a lot of this research around, I read something
Mhm.
the other day and it was like most people by like January 15th, they have already abandoned their New Year's resolution because there was no
Exactly.
strategy to it. We
Just
said
that's
the
what you
pipe
need.
dream, but we didn't map out the inputs that were going to get us there. Right. And so I think spending more time and really crafting out that, like,
The
you
how.
can't control. I think about if you want to lose 20 pounds, right?
Mhm.
It's a lot of
Mhm.
different things going on in life, especially depending on what season you are in
Mhm.
life. Hello, menopause,
Ugh.
perimenopause, right? I maybe can't control if I have lost that 20 pounds by February 1st, but what inputs can I control? I can control what I eat, I can control how I move. So, but that's a strategy. I needed to
Mhm.
put some
Mhm.
action to that thing. So, I think even as we talk about this career reset, part of it is the hard work,
Yeah.
really pausing my values. What are the narratives that I'm telling myself that are not really true? What is the vision that I want to be experiencing? But then after we do all of that, then what you gonna do about it? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what's the
Ooh.
actionable
Mhm.
items that can help you to realize that?
Yeah, you gotta have a plan. It's nice to have the little pipe dream and the vision, and
Yeah,
I mean, but then the SMART goals. That's why I like the SMART goals strategy. I have that in my Enjoino in the aspirational health section, actually. But
yeah,
yeah, the specific, measurable, attainable, reasonable, and time. Yeah, think
yeah,
about when you're gonna do it. So having that specific and just setting out like the little bullets under each
yeah,
goal of how you're gonna do it, but it has to be reasonable and relevant. I think I've seen SMART also the
yeah.
R being relevant as well. So important and
So
sticking to
important.
it.
So
But with the
important.
gym, that's so funny because I think about the gym when you said some people lose their resolutions by January 15th. When I used to, because I do everything at home now with the Peloton, but when I used to be in the gym, it was just so funny around the first of the year where everybody is like
Girl, they
so
new
crowded.
workout outfits and everything.
All of a sudden it just thins out.
Yeah,
We used to laugh. But yeah, it's so important to have a plan. I'm thinking about that with the food and diet and things like that. You
yeah,
gotta have a plan. So
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
And accountability for the plan, right?
Mhm. And self-grace, because 'cause you're not gonna always stick to whatever that is,
Yeah,
that you've set out to do, but progress is the key.
yeah, forward movement.
Yeah, so for those listening, I mean, you kind of was naming, like, practical steps throughout here, but any other practical steps for positioning yourself for your next chapter without actually feeling like it's starting over?
Yeah, yeah. So first take that pause, as we said, to clarify what you want the next season to feel like,
Mhm.
look like. I like even doing visioning exercises. Like it
Yeah.
imagine me in my dream job. What would my day
Mhm.
look like? What would my week look like?
Mhm.
Those type of
Mhm.
things. But I think for people who are to that point that you don't have to start over, really thinking about your transferable skills that you already have that can be repurposed perhaps in different ways than how you've
Mhm.
been doing it, mapping out kind of what needs to change versus what needs to stay. So that's a little bit of your
That's good.
analysis. But then if we think about like moving forward practically, the
Mhm.
positioning piece is around one, visibility, first of
Mhm.
all. So let's say I want to, for example, I'm an entrepreneur. Let's say I want to start working with organizations in a different sector this year than I've
Mhm.
worked with in the past. That's not just going to magically come to me. So, how do I start to get visibility in those spaces? It
Yeah.
may be by attending events, it may
Yeah.
be if you're looking for it from a job perspective, it may be connecting with people on LinkedIn in that area, right?
Mhm.
So visibility. The other thing I think about is skill alignment. So really doing an assessment of where are my not only my strengths, but my gaps. Are there areas in this season that I might need to be developing to
Yeah.
be prepared, either through reading a book, taking a course, getting some training, things of that
Yeah.
sort. And then I think just from, like you said, the compassion and the kind of emotional, mental, psychological piece, thinking about if there's boundaries or support that I need to put in
Yeah.
place. How can I lean into my network, my community? I've been an entrepreneur for about 10 years now, but I
Wow.
remember going through a rough period where some of my contracts were canceled, just what was happening in the
Of
season, like
course.
in COVID. I
Yeah.
reached out to my network and was just like, "Look, I had
Mm.
some contracts that was canceled. I need some work." And that
Mm.
network really helped to feed me during
Yes.
that season. So I think, leaning into your community as well, not only for accountability, but for
Mhm.
support, for shared wisdom, for emotional support, is a critical part of this as well.
Oh, yeah, that's super important. I'm glad you mentioned that. So, if we are looking into resetting, how can we reclaim the power to choose joy in environments that may not always make space for it?
Yeah.
And it seems like the Black woman leading is that space, but if we don't have that, how can we reclaim our joy?
Yeah, I think some of it is about assessing, is the environment sustainable for you?
Yeah.
'Cause I think that is something really I've unfortunately, had the opportunity to be a coach, and even when I was a therapist, work with people who are really having traumatic workplace experiences sometimes. So
Yes. Yes.
sometimes you gotta get out of there. Now, I'm not saying jump and you gotta pay
Uh-huh.
bills and stuff,
Mhm.
but put a plan together so you can transition. That's an extreme. I just gotta get out of here because this is not healthy for me. So I encourage people to do what you need to do to transition to a healthier environment if it's something like that. But if it's not that severe, I would say looking within those spaces, are there communities or support systems you can access within the spaces? It may be kind of mentorship or sponsorship support.
Mhm.
It may be like your work besties that become your kind of
Mhm.
professional posse within the workplace. And that's a big one. When we look at the stats around what keeps people in a job, is usually their colleagues who they've developed relationships. Number one reason why
Yeah.
people leave is the manager. Number one reason why people stay are their colleagues.
Ah,
Yeah, number one people, yes,
oh,
are their colleagues.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
See, if there a way to build
Mhm.
community even within the
We
workspace,
need that.
in a way that provides some support too. And maybe it's not leaving the organization or the space, but it's pivoting and being utilized in a different way in the space. So exploring,
Sure.
is there other ways you can be using your skills within this institution if you don't want to leave, that might be more aligned with where you are in this season?
Mhm. Now, taking a different direction, for those women, I say women, it seems like it's always women. I'm sure men do it too. Well, the eternal students. They keep going back for more degrees and degrees and degrees and degrees and degrees. And I'm like, okay, when are you going to actually be in a career and not be a student?
Yes.
Is there an issue with that? How do you coach that person? Do we just let them just keep going back to school?
Well, the eternal student. I love the eternal student. Well, first, we want to be lifelong learners. Let's come from a strengths-based
Yes,
perspective.
we
That's my
do.
social journey, right? However, for some people, and this is the being honest about it, it is a stall tactic. It is a
Mm.
fear tactic. It is a lack of confidence
Mm.
tactic
Or
because we
impossible.
do not feel like we are equipped to really enter into the
Ooh.
doing the work or being in the role. And we got to tell the truth about that.
Ooh.
That's a come to Jesus moment that we need to tell the truth about it. It
That's
is
good.
sometimes a fear or a stall tactic. Other
Mm.
times it's about a sense of like worthiness. And I'm not talking about your human
Mhm.
being worthiness, but like your
Mhm.
professional worthiness
Mhm.
and thinking that the only value comes from the piece of paper. When I look at a lot of opportunities and real good work I've done has come from my experience. It's
Yeah.
come from my real lived experience of working with leaders around the world. And I wouldn't have learned those lessons. I didn't learn those lessons in my degrees. Right. And so
For
I
sure.
we need some paper. Okay. We need some paper. I ain't mad
Get
at
out
you,
there.
especially depending on your field. But if the reason in your head why you have not been launching forward to what you want to do is solely about, well, I got to get another degree, then you need to really check
Mhm.
with yourself. Is this a fear or a stall tactic? And tell the truth about that.
Tell the truth to yourself. You
Yeah,
gotta do that. If not to anybody else, tell the truth for
tell the
yourself.
truth about it. Yep.
My ADHD won't let me go back and get another degree. I'm good.
Listen,
I
I
just be there
tried to
checking
go back.
boxes.
Look,
Huh?
I tried to go back. I have a master's degree, I have an undergrad degree, and a couple of
Mhm.
certifications, but I caught
Nice.
myself going back to get a doctorate. This was right after I had my son, and I had a
Uh-huh.
little bit of postpartum, my experience with my son. I
Ah,
did the whole thing.
yeah.
I got in, I went to the intro session and talk about alignment. I was sitting there and I was like, this is not where I need to be for this season right now.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
not where I need to be, and I
Mhm.
didn't end up moving forward with it because that was not the season.
That's alright.
So, I resonate with it. We wanna
Mhm.
have that we wanna have them credentials, okay? We're high achievers.
I know.
You forgetting them, but if that becomes the reason why you can't move forward because 'cause you're trying to get another and another and another, you have to pause and really ask yourself what's going on for real.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, that's good. Glad I asked that one. Lastly, I want to talk about layoffs. A lot of people getting laid off for whatever reason, depending on the industry. I imagine you work with women who may have experienced it. A lot of times we use that as an opportunity for a career reset. It's like,
Yep.
you know what, I keep getting laid off in this industry. Maybe I should just do something else or keep going. How do you coach women through that experience?
Yeah, so we are actually having quite a bit of folks, and I mean, if you've been looking at the stats, if we think about the Black woman leading
Yeah.
community, Black women have been really the largest group impacted. If we look in the last 6 months
Yeah.
around layoffs, so definitely supporting a lot of women through this, and we're seeing
Mhm.
people take a couple of different routes. We're seeing one people who, especially if they've been more senior and experienced, and they have some resources,
Mhm.
they're really using it for the first time in their professional career to take a mini sabbatical because they tired.
Yes, especially if
They
they get a
burnt out.
severance package.
Yeah, so we're seeing people, the number of Black women in particular that I have has heard say it to me explicitly. I've been working since I was 15.
Oh,
This is the first
wow.
time and I'm 50 or I'm 47. This is the first time
Wow.
in my life where I've had a moment to breathe. So
Mm,
that has been really powerful for people to one, just get rested, to have a clear mind to think about what they want to do next.
exactly.
We've been seeing people, like you said, using this as an opportunity to pivot, and it may not be out of their field. It may be to another organization or in another way. So they've gone from a 9 to 5 to maybe more of a consulting or contract worker. We're seeing a lot of people, and this is really interesting. And Dr. Elizabeth Adams talks about this. She was a
Mhm.
guest on my podcast,
Nice.
Job Stacking, which sounds a little bit like you, Dr. Enjoy.
Oh boy.
Job stacking is I have all of these skills and resources. And so I may have multiple ways that I make my money that aligns with what works with this season of my life. So we're seeing a lot of women job
Yeah.
stacking, or as you would say, having 3 part-time jobs.
That sounds so funny.
Because they're using that expertise in a way that works for them and works for
Yeah.
their lifestyle. So we're seeing a lot of
I
people
like
for the
that.
first time really exploring options that before the stability of the job they would not have allowed themselves to pursue. And
Mm.
then of course we're seeing a lot of people kind of dipping their toe into entrepreneurship, a lot of
Mhm.
consulting, using those same skills that they use as an employee, which is how I started my business. But now doing that for
Nice.
themselves. So a lot of different ways we're seeing people pivoting, but of course, still doing what they got to do and progressing and moving forward.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You
Yep.
mentioned your podcast. Tell the listeners about your podcast.
Yes. So I have a podcast for our Black Woman Leading initiative. It's called Black Woman Leading. It is on
Mhm.
all podcast platforms and on the Black Woman Leading YouTube channel. Dr. Enjoy is going to be a guest next week on the podcast. But yeah, we talk about everything related to not only leadership and career development, but also wellness and personal development. It's the similar kind of
Awesome.
vibe that we got going on
Yeah, which is
here
dope.
today. Yep.
Glad we were able to do a podcast swap. So tell us about these websites. So you got your Knights Consulting
Yeah.
Group. What can we find at that website?
Yeah, so if you want to learn more about the work we do inside of organizations, this is work
Mhm.
with leaders across the board. You can check out our corporate site at Nice Consulting Group. A lot of our work there is around helping companies develop leadership development and team development programs for their employees. If
Nice.
you want to learn more about our Black Woman Leading initiative, you can check out our website at blackwomanleading.com. We have cohort programs that are geared towards career level, early career, mid career, depending on where you are.
Mm.
We have the podcast, of course, and then we have an annual
Mhm.
conference that we host in May every year.
Oh, nice. Where is
Yeah.
it? Is it gonna be in the same spot every year, or
So
where
if
is it
we
usually?
switch it up, so we call
Nice.
it Black Woman Leading Live Conference Plus Retreat because we do a little conferencing and we do a little retreating. Uh,
Okay.
this year is going to be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Alright.
We're normally in a retreaty kind of space on a
Uh-huh.
beach where there's some water, so you're
Sure.
learning, but you also have time for relaxation or enjoying nature as well.
Alright. You have any dates for it?
Yes, it's May 11th through the 14th, 2026. You can get the details about that event at bwlretreat.com.
Okay,
Yep.
bwlretreat.com. That
Yep.
sounds awesome. Well, I appreciate you for coming. I always ask my guests about their own personal journey to joy. So what's your own personal journey to joy been like?
Yeah, different seasons of life has looked like different things. Entrepreneurship has been part of that and creating kind of the
Yeah.
flexibility I want in my life, being
Mhm.
able to travel not only for business, but also personally. This
Mhm.
season, one of the things I'm leaning into this year is
Mhm.
creating more beauty around me. So I'm going
Ooh.
to be doing some things in my house. I'm going to be
Mhm.
redoing my bedroom into an oasis,
Ooh.
and make it joy right here in the space that I don't have to go
Ooh.
somewhere else to get it. So super excited about that.
Ah, that sounds great. That sounds like me. If everyone's noticing my background's a little different, I cleaned out my office. It was so completely cluttered. I had stuff in here that did not need to be in here. And it only took a couple hours for me to do it. That's
Yeah.
the thing. You gotta
Just
plan
the
it,
intention, right?
do it, be intentional, and it's just so clean, and I feel like it's a new place.
Yeah, I love it so much. I love it. If
Mhm.
I could just offer two, if this conversation has kind of been resonating with you, I did create a career reset kit, which is just like a free, all those reflection questions and those steps and creating a 30-day plan to move forward is included in that kit. So you can get that at our website, blackwomanleading.com. And if you go to our kind of freebie resources page, you can download it right there. And it's completely free. It's a 10-page kind
Nice.
of reflective resource so you can do all of this work to get your career reset on.
Thank you for that. I was gonna ask you if you had anything else or any books that you wanted to
Yeah.
share. Anything else other than the kit?
No, I think that's enough, but I wanna encourage people, if this has really been
Yeah,
resonating and you're in a season of like, "Okay, something's
sure.
gotta give, I gotta pivot, this ain't it,"
Exactly.
check out that resource. I think it would really be supportive, in helping you walk through these steps that we've outlined here today.
Sounds awesome. Well, thank you so much, Laura, for being here. Have a
Of
great
course.
night.
Thank you.
You're welcome. This has been an Enjoy Life production. If you're in a crisis, don't hesitate. Call, text, or chat 988 for immediate support. Please note, this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional treatment. If you're looking for therapy or medication management through Enjoy Life, visit www.drenjoylife.com to request a consultation. I'm licensed in 12 states. I accept Aetna in Georgia, Florida, and Virginia. Be sure to grab your copy of the Enjoy Note to help you on your wellness journey. Also, check out Inspired Joy for the wife, mom, boss to help you balance it all without losing yourself. Better yet, get the full Joy bundle for just $45. Remember, Journey to Joy Live is every Thursday at 7 p.m. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, may you continue to transform stress into joy.